Good morning. My name's David Bottle. I'm the Global Director for Policy and Commercial Marketing at the Financial Times. And I'm delighted to be here interviewing Nina Hadjikarian, e-commerce director for EMEA at Patagonia, and talking about their brand's approach to sustainability and brand building. Patagonia, I'm delighted to say, have won the FT's Investment in Brand Award this year. The Investment in Brand Award celebrates companies for their commitment to pursuing long-term marketing strategies, an approach we believe and abundant evidence suggests generates better returns, but which short-term pressures makes harder than ever to pursue. This year, we focused the award on businesses that have maintained a long-term approach to sustainability and their green credentials. The judges said Patagonia have been the poster brand for sustainability for many years. It's a fundamental part of every decision they make as a business, even asking customers not to buy any more products. There could not be a more worthy winner for their commitment and belief in the importance of planet as well as profit. So I'm delighted to welcome Nina, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about Patagonia and your approach to sustainability. So firstly, can you tell us a little bit about Patagonia's approach to brand purpose? While many brands have emphasised this in recent years, for Patagonia, it seems this has been fundamental all along from the very start.
Yeah, hi David, thanks for the question. We get this question a lot, and the truth is that our founder Yvonne Chouinard, who was a dirt bike climber, developed a strong sense of responsibility in creating less harm in whatever he was doing, whether it was during his sports or in production of the pitons that he produced. And for us as a company, it is an inherent part of the DNA that we're consciousness in every step that we take on the journey in running our business. And it's part of what we do is finding also solutions for the inherent problems in the apparel industry. So if you think about going deeply into supply chain, from growing the cotton all the way to getting the product onto the shelf, we are looking at solutions like regenerative organic agriculture, fair trade, collaborating with other businesses and suppliers to find better practices and also open sourcing those solutions that we find. We've gotten pretty good at creating awareness through storytelling. That's one of our strengths, I would say, and that's also one of our tools in our toolbox. But really what we have been doing for a long time is supporting grassroots activists in giving them a bigger platform and creating reach for them. And we have given away above $145 million in cash and in-kind donations to 1,500 groups around the world so far. Eventually, creating less harm has become doing more good due to the crisis and the urgency of the crisis that we're in. And for example, we have been campaigning for Big Wild River in Europe, the national park, we called the campaign Viosa Forever. And we are building momentum in the renewable energy community movement across Europe. So over time, you could say we've become more an activist company compared to just supporting activists.
And do you think that your status as a privately owned business makes this possible? For instance, if you're accountable to shareholders and publicly listed, would you be able to authentically position your brand in this way?
Well, I would say that certainly being a privately owned company gives more freedom, but nevertheless, bear in mind that also stakeholders need to be brought along in the privately owned company. So if you think about our employees, they are key stakeholders for us. We believe in sharing decisions and really bringing them along. And if you do that properly, then you can actually use them as a sounding board. We don't have a CSR department. We actually see ourselves as all responsible for our CSR strategy. And I have to say, employees have fantastic ideas and a desire to participate. You just have to find a way to unlock it. We're also working really closely with our suppliers and consider them as our partners and work closely with other businesses, as I said before, to find solutions. One example would be fair trade initiatives in the factories that we work with other companies in.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the events of the last 18 months. I think it would be remiss of us not to. Can you tell us how Patagonia has navigated the coronavirus crisis? What have been the main impacts on your business? Has it changed how your customers engage with your brand and discover and purchase your products?
Well, of course, it's been a challenging situation for us as well as for other businesses. However, there's been some incredibly positive things coming out of the situation. That was, of course, terrible. But people have started to reevaluate their priorities and actually started to reconnect with nature And that also means that they are keen to join in the fight to save the home planet. It brought internal and external challenges to us, because one of the things that we do very keenly is we meet with our community, whether that's for film screenings or with the One Word Tour. And we had to rethink how we do that. The work that we do sometimes is quite simple. It's about storytelling and bringing the things that we do closer to the community. So one thing that was quite surprising, for example, the event that we ran 2 years ago in Chamonix called Running Up for Air, which is a trail running event. We're now doing that across the whole of Europe with the means of digital platforms. So yeah, there's some positive effects there as well, for sure. And maybe last but not least, internally, we have learned a lot on how we work and collaborate across the regions. It has connected us much more with our regional offices as well as with the headquarters. And we have brought some more flexibility to our staff as well. So, for example, now we are testing a 12 weeks period where employees can work from abroad. It's very important for our employees because we are in Amsterdam, and all of our employees are keen in one or the other sports that we stand for. So it's brought quite a bit of freedom. Of course, 2020 has also been a bit of a watershed moment for us when it comes to the Black Lives Matter protest and what happened around the murder of George Floyd. And we, as a company, we are quite good and leaders at a lot of activist areas, but diversity inclusion, that's something we still have to learn a lot. And what we're doing here is internally revamping our hiring practices, provide training, recognizing and committing to a more diverse workforce from top to bottom. So it means also having frank and difficult conversations and accepting what we've done not so right in the past, and committing to doing it better. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough spot to be in, to say frankly, because normally we're in the forefront of activism, and this one is one that we definitely have to learn, and we're doing that.
Yeah, it's a challenge that many businesses are grappling with right now. Yeah. So to focus a little on the award itself, it recognises businesses that have invested in long-term brand building. How do you at Patagonia go about finding the balance between long-term and short-term investment, like brand investment, and then short-term activation activity? And has that changed at all over the course of the pandemic?
Yeah, I would say it has not changed. I think for us, both the long and short term has a place in our strategy and approach. Of course, it's a benefit to be family owned, and if we find a course of action, we can move fast and quite decisively with every function of our business behind us. But we do also take some quick hit political voice stances, often within the social justice space. So one example would be when we joined the Stop Hate for Profit campaign in 2020 in order to show that Facebook's profits will never be worth promoting hate, bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism, or violence. And also just recently in May, Patagonia released a statement to show support for the Italian Senate discussion of the ZAN bill, which is a proposed set of laws that would, among other things, make violence against LGBTQ plus people and disabled people, as well as misogyny, a hate crime.
And so that campaigning work that you do, obviously it must be hugely effective at driving brand affinity and awareness. Do you have a link between that and commercial performance? And what are the sort of measures you use in order to create that link?
Yeah, we get that question quite a lot. So to be honest, commercial gain is never a metric for success in our environmental work. Absolutely never. So, for example, take the campaign, the Blue Heart. We have no stores or wholesale partners in the Balkans. And in fact, we are educating our community on a very complex environmental issue. And yeah, for this campaign, our commercial wins have been completely divorced from our success metrics. What we actually looking at there is participation and activation of citizens. So over 120,000 people have signed for the Blue Heart petition, and that was delivered to European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, one of the big financial stakeholders in the dams. As a result, the EBDR has adopted stricter requests for transparency for loans granted for renewable energy projects, and we screened a film, held a debate in the European Parliament, and since the European Parliament has passed a resolution highlighting the environmental risk of small hydropower dams. So yeah, this is really what we are aiming for. We want to create change with grassroots activity.
Yeah. And I suppose particularly over the course of the last sort of year and a half or so, there has been a change of values or a reevaluation by consumers. And other brands have been burnishing their ESG credentials. And I suppose so long as there's an authenticity to that, that's a good thing. But do you worry now a little more about differentiation? That's always been what Patagonia has stood for. If everyone else is moving into that space, is it going to be as hard for you to uniquely stand for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. We are in business to inspire others to find solutions for the environmental crisis. So that's one of our key objectives as a company. And this is why Yvonne Chouinard was the co-founder of 1% for the Planet, a giving program that others can participate in. And we are also the first B Corp in California. The other question, however, that I think we have to ask ourselves is about greenwashing. And that's where we have many examples, unfortunately, especially in the apparel industry and beyond. And I have to say by now, we should have quite good confidence in our consumers to dismantle when something is not meaningful action. And I think consumers are also not afraid to vote with their wallets there.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, it's been delightful to talk to you, Nina. Thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations again on the fantastic work that's gone into achieving this award. It's hugely deserved. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, David. It was a pleasure.